Okay, and so that last video I showed you how to make a full contour temp crown that you can cement to a tie base, an abutment, whatever, and be ready for surgery ahead of time. In this video I'm going to show you how to just make a simple shell. A shell that is designed for this patient and will hopefully fit them well, but is basically a hollowed out shell that we can line with whatever material of our choice. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to augment the shape of this tooth a little bit so that it does kind of blend in a little better, particularly at the gingival margin. I'm going to go to sculpt. In the other video I showed you how to use the drag tool and the robust smooth. I'm just going to use the robust smooth for this. I'm going to dial this down to about 40 or so and just run across the gingival margin, just smoothing it back a little bit, and we'll kind of make it a little more even with the contralateral central incisor. Doesn't have to be perfect, but spend a little bit of time here giving yourself a little better outcome in the long run. And you can see the gingival defect sort of dipping in right there, so we can only go so far. I mean, it's only going to get so ideal. So I'm good with that. I'm going to click OK. And so now I am ready to get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hollow out this tooth, because this tooth is going to be turned, it's going to be created into a shell. So let's make it a shell right now, a full contour shell. Let's duplicate this tooth first, because it's our original tooth. So we always have a record of that essentially. And this tooth, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to go to Edit and click on Hollow. The default's going to be 2 millimeters. I'm going to change that to 1 millimeter and click on Update Hollow. Give it a second to load, and here is what our tooth looks like hollowed out. Okay? Click on Accept. So now we can be done right away. But in my case, what I would like to do is, I know that when I subtract out the contacts, I'm going to have these little divots in here, and you could use that to line it up and just hold your fingers and hopefully it's straight. But if you want to make it so that it actually locks on the adjacent teeth, then do this step as well. This is an additional step. You can skip forward past this and you'll know what I mean, and if you want to, just hit fast forward. But if not, I'm going to show you how to make some sacrificial supports. So to do that, I'm going to go to Sculpt, go to Brushes, Drag. I'm going to dial this down to about 25, oh, not strength, the size down to 25 or 30 in that range. Maybe go a little higher. And I'm going to go just inside the point angle because I don't want to mess that up. And I'm right over top of it, so now I can drag it up. Okay, and it's intersecting with that. Perfect. So now let's do the same thing right here. If you do hit the point angle, it's not the end of the world. I'm just trying to save myself a little bit of work in having to adjust that and figure out where to put it in the future. So these two supports, I'm gonna modify them more. Don't worry. But this is, the only thing that's gonna be connected to it. I can use a disc or a burr and just zip that off. It's gonna be no problem. But let's make these bigger because they're not real robust right now. Let's go back into brushes and go to inflate. And I'm just gonna inflate this thing like crazy. I'm gonna come from looking from more the gingival area so that it inflates up towards me. Come from the lingual. This is all going to get trashed, so use as much as you want or as little as you want, but the bigger you do it, the more support you're going to have. It's always going to inflate towards where you're looking, essentially. Okay, pretty good. If I want to make this a little bit stronger, I can always inflate it a bit. And let's look from right here. Let's drag this down the incisal edge a bit. Let's look down here and wrap it so that it's out the facial a little more. And let's look from the lingual. There we go. This is pretty decent here. You can go back and smooth this if you want, totally unnecessary. If you want it to look pretty, that's fine. But this is pretty well indexed, I would say. So now I'm going to hit Escape. I'm done sculpting it. I've got one thing I have to do. I'm going to click on the tooth. I'm going to click on the maxilla. before I do anything, I'm going to duplicate. If you haven't watched my videos, you may not have seen it all the time, but I always redo that just in case I screw something up. I'm going to hit Boolean difference. Make sure I select the tooth, then the maxilla. It's now going to subtract the gingival area, the contacts, and the adjacent and incisal edges. There's also this little tail that was sticking up beyond the model, like this. Oops, I meant to hit OK. Oops, I didn't. But, nuts. Don't do that. It's not the end of the world, but it does screw things up. You should always hit OK to accept it. Hit accept, and I think I should be fine now. All right, let's turn off the maxilla, and sure enough, I'm good. Anyway, I was turning that on just to show you why that was sticking out there. To get rid of that, I can just say select, draw around it, hit delete, and it's gone. So here is my implant shell. I can take my patient, place the implant, add an abutment, fill this with cement, slide it over top, let it cure, pull it out, and then add cement down to kind of develop the emergence. Lots of videos on YouTube and posts on Facebook and whatnot on Instagram showing how to do that part. But this is just how to get you your shell made, 3D print ready. All right, hope that helps, guys. Okay, so one extra step you can add in here, I actually finished recording the video and realized I forgot one thing. So technically this is all good, you could use this as is, but it would be ideal to have a hole in it pre-drilled so you don't have to guess where the implant's coming out. Now, if your implant wanders, if you're freehanding, this step might not be necessary because you don't really know where it's going to come out. But if you are doing guided surgery, obviously this is where we get a lot of this data is from our guide. You might as well go ahead and give yourself a chance to use that that planned position. So to do that, I'm going to do something kind of a little different here. I'm going to turn on the select tool right here, or just press the S, and I'm going to make it fairly large, and I'm going to increase the crease angle here up pretty high. What that means is when I click right here, everything that was smooth enough within that degree range gets selected, but everything that's below that ends up not getting selected. So I can hit delete. I can now go ahead and repair this inspector. There's a hole on either end here. I'm going to repair this one, repair the inside one. It's important that both get repaired. And now I can come back here. I can dial this down a ways. And I'm just going to select this middle and click on T for transform. So this is basically going to be creating our screw hole. Doesn't matter how long you go with it. Hit accept. So I just that was just a T for transform button again. That's under modify if you're looking, or deform. But so now I can go ahead and turn my my shell back on. Click on it, then select the abutment, or by pressing the control button. I hit shift instead. Abutment, and now just hit Boolean difference and hit accept. And so now my shell is not only, good for the implant abutment and index on the teeth, but it's also got a screw hole already. So, and that should be pretty darn close if you're doing guided surgery. It may not be perfect, but it should be pretty close. And that's one of the advantages of this technique over the full contour one is this one allows us, who cares what the implant is, the crown's still going to be in the same position. The other one requires the implant be ideal position, but it's less work chairside. So anyway, hopefully that helps wrap this video up.